have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world when you hit that play button. So glad you did. Thank you so much for joining me here on this episode of the Genesis Frequency Podcast. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, coming at you and just sharing every week in and week out. Universal laws, tips, everything that I can get my hands on, that I have read, that I have studied over a whole bunch of years that can help you improve your life spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, personally, and professionally. We look at everything that comes up. I do a lot of this show, I should say, just by inspiration, by whatever drops in. And today is no exception. And you know what? I think I'm going to take some heat for this one. Hang in there with me. But, I was thinking about what am I going to do for my show? I'm thinking about this yesterday. That's what I usually do. I don't make a lot of notes. I don't grab a book and say, "Oh, I'm going to talk about what's in this book." I do that from time to time, but I'm inspired first to do so. The book fell off the shelf, or there ones that laying open on the nightstand, or something really hits me the right way. But as I was thinking about this show yesterday and what I would talk about, well, this image just kept coming up on social media, and it seemed to all of a sudden be everywhere. I think I saw it on, I don't know, I saw it on a friend posted it, and then I saw it on a bunch of other, colleagues and well-intended individuals' sites, and then I think I saw it on LinkedIn, it's been on Twitter, and you really, to grasp what I'm going to talk about today, you're going to have to, look to the image that I placed and associated and connected with this particular episode of the Genesis Frequency. And it's titled at the top, it's Out of My Control. I think that's what it's titled. I don't know. I don't know if this has been cropped. I don't know whose it is. That's why I'm saying I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, because I don't know where it came from. I don't know what the source is. But I used it for my show art today, or I should say my episode image. But I put a big red X. I put a big red X through it because I tend to disagree with it a little bit. And when I kept seeing this, I saw it once and I just let it be yesterday. Then I saw it another time and I'm going, well, this could possibly be tweaked a little bit. And after I started seeing it over and over again, and then people were saying, hey, share some wisdom about this, what needs to be tweaked. That's when I decided, well, I'll just do my show on it. Now, maybe you saw this. At the top, it says Out of My Control. And it's got a colorful human head. And around it, there's this gray ring that says Out of My Control. Again, if you're seeing the image for this show, you know what I'm talking about. If not, maybe it's showed up on your feed somewhere, but Out of My Control. And it's got things in this circle, kind of like a halo around this image of a human head. And it's got Out of My Control. It's got the past, the future, the actions of others, the opinions of others, what happens around me, what other people think, the outcome of my efforts, how others take care of themselves. And in this gray shaded area, it's indicating, well, these are the things that are out of my control. And then within the human image, it's got some colorful blocks and puzzle pieces, if you will. In fact, it is, now that I look at it, they are designed as puzzle pieces. And right at the top it says, in my control, suggesting these are the things that we all have control over. And it has my boundaries, my thoughts and actions, the goals I set, how I speak to myself, what I give my energy to, how I handle challenges. And that's all great. I don't disagree with any of that. There are a couple things, a couple tweaks. I'm not condemning this. There are a couple tweaks that I would make to the circle, the outer shaded gray area of this, specifically where it says out of my control is the future and out of my control is the outcome of my effort. So let's look at that. We'll look at a few of the other things and looking at where our attention goes, because where our attention goes, that's where our energy flows, for instance. So if we would take personal responsibility, which we should, and this is preached by all the big name personal and professional development people taking personal responsibility. Jack Canfield starts the success principles out with that. I mean, the list goes on. Tony Robbins, T. Harv Eker, Bob Proctor, take responsibility for everything in your life. And if we would do that, we could reel in a couple of these things that this image is suggesting that are out of our control. Certainly, I think, in my humble opinion, the future is not out of my control, and the outcome of my efforts is not out of my control. Why? What do I always talk about during this show? And again, I want you to hang in here with me, whether you're looking at your life through the lens of personal or professional development, whether you're looking for tips that are going to help you in the workplace, in the corporate environment, whether it's in the boardroom or in the warehouse or wherever you are in a company, or whether it's a small business, you're an entrepreneur, you're in a small business, maybe you want to start a small business, or maybe just for you individually. These apply across the whole gamut. They run the gamut, and I'm talking about this all the time because this is what I do. Individuals, small businesses, and corporations having an influence and impact on the development, the results, the performance that show up in our lives, personally and professionally. So if you always hear me, and you've been with me long enough that you always hear the formula, so to speak, the basic elementary formula: thoughts plus feelings plus actions equal our results. Well, then clearly you can look at this image and agree that it needs to be tweaked a little bit, because the outcome of my efforts is going to be directly related to my dominant thoughts. So we use our thoughts, we use our mind, and even this image says that. It says, in my control, my thoughts and my actions. And our thoughts are dictating what our feelings are going to be, really dictating our frequency, our vibration, what we're giving our thoughts to, where we're directing our thoughts, what we're thinking about. And those things that we're thinking about, those thoughts, is where our energy is going to flow. It's going to set up the feeling. It's going to set up the emotional state. It's going to set up and establish the vibration and frequency we're in. And that's going to come through that emotional state, that feeling. In the diagram that I always describe for you and paint, I believe so clearly when I do this show, thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals the results. Well, the outcome of my efforts is the results part. And again, and again, and again, and again, what happens is we are in control of our thoughts, but so often we look at those results. We look at the results that show up, and we focus on what's in that puddle of results that we don't like, the results that we don't want. We're scratching our head and saying, how did that get in there? How did that show up? Not realizing it's a product of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. So we can get the grasp the basics of this equation: thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals results. But we have to realize that the outcome's going to come from thinking that new thought, having that new idea, designing first within our mind, using the power of our imagination, what we want that outcome to look like. So that's where the disagreement comes from. I do have control over the outcome, over the results, over what's showing up. Look at the world around you. And I use this example all the time. Look at the world around you. Everything has been created twice. Everything you're looking at, you're seeing your computer, the microphone I'm speaking into, the door, the doorknob, the car, the automobile, the desk, the table, the chair, all of that designed as an idea, as a thought in somebody's mind. The better mousetrap. I can improve this. I'm going to design it. I had an idea. Go all the way back. The wheel, right? And we design and create this image. But so many people that are not on this path of personal and professional development, well, maybe they do relate to this image and look at it and say, yeah, that's out of my control. What's showing up? They just think, hey, these are the cards that I've been dealt. And I detest hearing that. This is the cards. This is my lot in life. These are the cards that I've been dealt. We deal our own cards. We're dealing from our own deck when we know the equation, the simple equation: thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals results. So I am in control of the outcome of my efforts. Yes, there's laws. There's 7 laws that precede the law of attraction, and they have an influence and an impact. There's waves and the law of rhythm that, hey, is going to buffer and move about what's taking place. But still, when we design it in our mind, using the power of our imagination, the outcome is something that is in our control. If I want to, I often use the example of a weight goal, a physical weight goal. Now, the outcome of my efforts is in my control, right? It's absolutely in my control. It's not in anybody's, to say that's out of my control would be ridiculous. I have to take responsibility of this. If I have an objective to release 20 pounds of excess weight, well, that's in my control. The outcome of my efforts is in my control. I either hit that target or I don't. My efforts and what I put into it and my thoughts and my actions are going to be responsible for the outcome that shows up. But we can look at this through any areas of our lives within the company, that the sales goals, the eliminating problems, getting customer service ratings up, what's the KPI, what's the performance index saying. All these things are absolutely in control. So let's move the outcome of my efforts, let's move it inside this person's head. And therefore, we can flip over to the other part of that shaded area where it's talking about the future. Because, I don't know, I think that can be tweaked as well. Other people indeed are responsible for their own lives. And when we talk about the future, certainly I can create my own future. And we all do, by the choices and the decisions we make, and where we're directing our attention and our energy and the frequency that we find ourselves on, and all of that goes into play. But other people are doing that too. So there is just like throwing a pebble in a pond. If I throw one in and you throw one in, on the other side of the pond, those ripples will intersect, will touch each other and create a new ripple. Yes, there's added elements that way. But I can intentionally and deliberately create my future. And we're doing it all the time, whether we're doing it intentionally and deliberately or consciously or unconsciously. is the question here. So if we look at that image, if we're moving about our world like so many people do as unconscious competence, and unconscious competence means, hey, I'm getting by. I'm going day in and day out to the job or whatever it is I do, working on somebody else's dream, for instance. I'm living my life on cruise control. I put my imagination up on the shelf when I was a little kid and I haven't taken it down since. Well, we can be unconscious about life and living. We live a series of reactions to what's on the news if we listen to that, what other people do, what other people say, and we're like I always say, that steel ball in that pinball machine just bouncing off of the bumpers of life and going through that. Well, then we would feel that the future, our future, is out of our control. I can see how unconscious competence would feel that way. However, this is something you can reel in. That's why I'm saying we could tweak this. I'm not all against this design. This is great. It gets people thinking. It gets the dialogue going that I'm going here. So I'm not condemning it. But I'm saying let's decide to tweak it, to take that future and move it from out of my control. And maybe that's what the artist intended. Again, I'm not condemning anybody. Take this future and reel it in to the area that is in my control. I can deliberately and intentionally design the future of my life, personally and professionally, in every area of my life. Again, it goes back to the thoughts we think, using the power of our imagination as the canvas to design the life we would love to live. So there are a couple tweaks. I hope I answered that for you. We are in control. We can be in control of the future, and we indeed are in control of the outcome of our efforts. Now the rest of this, I really don't have a problem with. It says, in my control and my boundaries. Certainly, we establish our boundaries. My thoughts and actions. That's what I've been talking about. The goals I set. Yep, that's us. We set the goals. Now, sometimes there's corporate goals and in corporate culture we want to align with, but our personal goals, certainly those are in my control. What I give my energy to, choices. That's all about choices, right? How I speak to myself. What am I doing? I'm always condemning myself. We tend to be our own worst critics, right? We're just always, always so hard on ourselves, so down on ourselves. So how are we speaking to ourselves? I could probably do a show on each one of these. How I handle challenges. Have we studied? Are we aware of our mental faculties? Have we worked on developing those, exercising those so we can deal with challenges, so we can appropriately respond or not respond to the events, the circumstances, the actions of others, which is outside this circle, by the way, that occur in our lives? We do that by developing our mental faculties. So a lot of this stuff is really good, but really take a look at this image. Find it, go to it, go to my show art for today, and take a look at it if you haven't seen this, and strive to put more things in the inner image that are in your control, because so much of your life and your living personally and professionally is indeed in your control. And the stuff that's out, well, you release it. You don't give all your energy and attention to. Now, a lot of things you do, because they may concern you, and maybe they concern another individual, and we want to be compassionate expressions of life, right? But the negative part, we want to take our energy away from that, and some things are just best to let go, and focus on what we do want to create in our lives, because that's what happens. We give all our energy to something that is out of our control, and we're focused on it, or so we're so angry about it, we're so mad at something we saw on the news or TV. But you know what? Not one iota of being mad, unless we're doing it in a constructive way and we go to work on something that we are for. Well, not one bit's going to do any good giving all that energy to that. And when we do, we're taking our energy and attention off what we really do want. So where is your attention and your energy best serving you and the dreams, the desires, the objectives, the goals of your heart? Don't give it away to something that is out of your control, something that you don't want, something that energetically moves you to a lower frequency and vibration and upsets you and agitates you and irritates you. Keep your attention and your energy flowing on the thoughts of what you do want to experience in your life. That way, you remain in control. You reel all this other stuff in, and you take control of your own life, personally and professionally. Hey, you want more clarity on this? Reach out. We already used up all the time for today, but reach out to me. Get on my calendar, successappointment.com. And you can also go to the website, successocean.com, or the website for the show, thegenesisfrequency.com. Either way, there's so many ways to reach out and schedule some time to talk to me to get you unstuck. Maybe you're stuck, and you know what? I was stuck for a long, long time. A big part of my life, I was stuck, and it stunk. I could go on. I could probably create a rap song right here, but you know, we learn how to deal with that. We have to identify it first, and that's where I come in, helping you identify. Hey, why don't you have what you want yet? So get on my calendar. Let's just have a conversation about that. Successappointment.com. Get you right on my calendar. It'll show up in your time zone. And don't forget, you know, I'm so passionate about entrepreneurship. And if that's something that you're passionate about and that you want to do, and you want to build, you know, at least a 5-figure, $10,000 a month or more income, working anywhere in the world with your laptop and phone, and you want to do that, and you want to do that now without doing MLM, without doing selling, without doing convincing and explaining and persuading and all that stuff. Don't do any of that, and it's in personal and professional development. Well, reach out or go to successocean.biz for that. Let's have a conversation about that as well. I'm bringing a few people on to train. I'm going to meet a group in Miami, Florida, end of October. So maybe that fits in your schedule or that part of your country. Love to meet you in Florida, in Miami, and explore that with you. But either way, reach out. Let's have a conversation. This is what I do. This is what I am here for. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, after all, right? So I'm here to help you and be in service. And that means personally and professionally. If you want a workshop in your place of business, you want a workshop, you want a keynote speaker, feature presenter, you want some training. We've been doing a lot of corporate training lately. Train on we really have a catalog of over 100 topics, but if you want something specific, there's some things that we're really, really passionate about, like customer service, attitude, mindset, success, peak performance, effective communication, on and on it goes. So reach on out. Let's see what's possible for you and I to do something together, at least have a conversation. For now, that's going to do it for this episode of The Genesis Frequency. Again, this is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.